let me introduce my guests here to you, and then we begin the discussion. And my guests this morning are our regular panelist and editor-in-chief of the New Crusading Guide newspaper, Abdul Malik Kwekubako. Thank you very much for coming. Today he entered the studio with extra documents in a new bag. Busted. We found him out. Now, also in the studio is Samuel Okujeto Ablakwa. He's MP, North Tongue, and Ranking Member, Foreign Affairs Committee of Parliament. Good morning. And welcome.
Good morning, Samson.
Great to have you. Dr. Oko Boy is MP, Lejokuku, and Member, Select Committee on Health. Doc, welcome.
Thank you.
Also in the studio, who just moved out briefly, is Inus Afuseni, MP, Tamale Central, and Ranking Member, Legal, Constitutional, and Parliamentary Affairs. Now, as you always know, your views and comments are welcome through our text lines, 1422, and the other platforms that you are familiar with, including our Facebook, page, and at Newsfile at myjoyonline.com. Right, you are not here when I was introducing you, so yes. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm very good. Thank you for asking.
Nice shirt.
Thank you. Good. That's Latida as always. Now, as we have indicated to you, we have a number of issues that we are looking at this morning. Of course, starting with Koku Anyidoho, the Deputy General Secretary of the NDC's arrest at a public event and restriction and detention subsequently, and refusal of bail until about the time when the 48th hour was to be achieved, when he eventually was granted bail. So we are looking at his comments and whether or not you think that they fit the charges that are currently being preferred against him. He's been cautioned on treason felony and causing fear and alarm. The offense you always refer to as causing fear and panic. The law does not recognize panic. It recognizes fear and alarm. Now, we'll look at that and also some fallouts as a result of, we're told, by some security persons that must have led to a shakeup in the BNI setup, but there are denials official denials from government's communications. Now, this is how we start. We will want to begin by listening to the comments or remarks by Koku Anyidoho that led to all of what has happened.
Ultimately, they'll introduce that thing. Hey, President Nano also can't. So eventually, I'm telling you, somebody should turn an Akufo-Addo. Master, history has a very interesting way of repeating itself. On the 13th of January 1972, a certain Colonel Ignatius Kutu Achampo led an insurrection, led a movement that removed the Progress Party from power. Buzia was the Prime Minister, Akufo-Addo's father was the ceremonial president. Somebody should tell Akufo-Addo that history has an interesting way of repeating itself. I'm telling you, history has a very interesting way. Oh, Master, history has an interesting way of repeating itself. Because, President,
General, they are okay, very serious power.
Oh, come on, Thank you, Captain. There will be a civil revolt. There will be a people's movement. Now President Mahama will power. Now President Mahama will power. Let my vote count for me, occupy Ghana, for mother. Only got to move to President Mahama Adieso.
But Uma reference to Ignatius Kutu. Oh, Joshua Kambadia. Uma reference to Ignatius Kutu a champion. Say Obabe 2 a year Akufo-Addo papa. And no busier. Say history will repeat itself. And no name civil revoke. And no name civil revoke. General Patrol, one day. I say, yay.
There will be a civilian coup d'etat.
Hey.
There will be a social revolution.
Hey.
We are starting on Wednesday. The movement is starting on Wednesday.
Civilian coup d'etat.
The super prime. The super prime in the two Ghana. So the baby. You have a flow.
Right. So I'm sure you have heard this tape, but it's important that we play it back to you so that we can have a certain perspective as we begin the discussion this morning. We will shortly be speaking to the person who made them and find out if, you know, he still, you know, sticks to them, among other things. But when the police swooped on him at an event and a number of things happened, we will listen to Bernard Mona, the PNC's chairman. We will listen to also Betty Moldedrisu, who is an executive of the NDC, certain comments that were made after the arrest and people, you know, going to the police headquarters and seeking and demanding that he be released. So let's listen to at least these two and return to do the discussion.
For them to pick Koku to his house, to claim that they are going to search whether he has weapons of mass destruction. They are not looking at the Americans for weapons of mass destruction. It's Koku Anyidoho's house they can look for weapons of mass destruction. Now they have returned. They could not find a bread knife in Koku's house. And shamefully, they came and changed the charges against Koku for 3 times. First was causing fear and panic. Second was inciting the public to attack the nation. Third was high treason. And finally, treason. Even the police are confused in what charge they should met out to Koku Anyidoho. Eventually, after they have taken his statement with his lawyers, they say that they will not grant him bail. Is that how we should run a democracy? This is shameful not only to the honor of President Nana Akufo-Addo, but to the entire nation, because we fought for our independence in 1957, not for it to be compromised in this vulgar manner.
Your thoughts on how the police has handled this?
Absolutely unprofessionally.
What do you think they should have done rather?
I think they should have known what they should have done. And they knew that they had absolutely no case and they were trying to desperately make up a case. It's appalling, unprofessional, unethical.
We understand we don't know where Mr. Anyidoho is. Are you concerned?
We're not concerned because our lawyer is with him. He has a lawyer with him.
So what's next for you and the party?
For the party, we are going on our demonstration tomorrow. We are part of the demonstration tomorrow. As lawyers, we know precisely what our next steps of action will be.
Right. And aside Betty Moldedrisu and Bernard Mona, you have heard his lawyers, the party make comments, government issue a statement making a demand of the NDC. NDC issuing a statement earlier, dissociating itself from the comments. But from what has transpired, have they really dissociated themselves from the comment? We'll find out. And what has ensued in the course. If I may start with you, Sami. You have been part of this demonstration that was planned, and at which a press conference to herald which event Koku Anyidoho was arrested. Did you take the view that, and do you still do, that the arrest was needless and that the comments are harmless and ought to have been allowed?
First of all, let me extend very warm greetings to you and the panel this morning and to our distinguished viewers and listeners. I have taken the view from day one that the whole episode is quite unfortunate at all levels. I took the view earlier that the General Secretary of the NDC, Koku Anyidoho's boss, and our leader, all of us, our leader, did the right thing when he distanced the party from the statements by Koku Anyidoho. The NDC believes in our democratic dispensation, believes in the current constitutional order, and would not do anything to subvert the constitution. and the current democratic dispensation. This is a party that, of the 7 elections that have been conducted in the Fourth Republic, we have a better record at winning elections. We have won 4 elections. We still consider ourselves a very viable alternative, capable of winning elections any day. And therefore, there is absolutely no motivation, absolutely no advantage in seeking any other method of coming to power or defeating the MPP in extra democratic means. There can be no motivation at all, in the very least. And so the point has to be stressed that we all take the view as a party that we remain committed. I mean, this Fourth Republic, everybody knows, the history of it cannot be told without the role of the NDC, our tradition PNDC, and certainly commending the people of this country, the rank and file, democratic forces who fought for a return to constitutional order. So I need to stress that point. Now, I must also add something hesitantly, that across the divide, there have been politicians who, if I'll borrow the words of the respected lawyer and former Attorney General, Ayikwe Otu, who talks about a certain Beshi spirit, which sometimes falls upon politicians. And so we engage in excesses. I will describe Koku Anyidoho's interview that he himself, with hindsight, I believe that he will, because I know him very well, he will say that he went overboard. And that's where, you see, the role of the media comes in. I would really have wished that the Happy FM host had terminated the interview at that point. Because you see, when the basic spirit is really on politicians across the divide, you ought not goad them on. If you listen to the interview critically, you know, there was some amount of goading. Hey,
was it rather a caution or goading?
Yo, it's as if it's a caution. It's
I heard somebody caution.
Yeah, it's done as though it's a caution.
So what you're doing amounts to...
what you are doing. Hey, are you sure? Then gives him the opportunity to be repeating himself and going on and on and on. I think that, I mean, holding no brief for Koku, I'm also saying that, can we call for some greater media responsibility in situations like this?
No, but before you get there, before you get there, you say that this is uncharacteristic of him. Some say you are wrong on that, because this is him. This is him. That these statements do not give any new definition to him.
No, this is the first time Koku Anyidoho has made statements that border on, if you like, usurping the current democratic order. Yes, if you say Koku Anyidoho has been known as a hardliner, as a tough talker, that I concede. Some may even describe him as a hawk within the NDC. All parties have hawks. All parties have those who, you know, dish it out and can go after the opponent in, if you like, a more aggressive tone. Yes, Koku falls within that category. But to make this particular statement, because I watched an interview recently when he had been released on bail, and journalists went to his house and they asked him about the comments. And he said, hey, please, you want me to go back there? And he just walked away from the interview. So you can tell that lessons are being learned. But I'm just saying that there have been several of these instances where it is important that when politicians from across the divide begin to make these statements, can we also begin to call for greater media responsibility? Because you see, if you look at our recent history, I can cite several examples, and I don't want to go really into that.
So as far as you are concerned, as far as you are concerned, he simply went overboard, having been, as it were, possessed by Beshi, so to speak.
I mean, if I will borrow the words of lawyer Ayikwetu, who was describing, you know, a supporter of his own party who had fallen.
Yeah, well, now we know that it's either Beshi or Kofu.
Yes. So I'm saying that yes, certainly as a party, we have distanced ourselves from that statement. I have told you that we remain committed to the constitutional order. We have beaten the MPP
so
in elections.
What were you doing at the police headquarters and all the commentary that followed about police doing wrong?
Fantastic. I'm glad you asked. Now, Samson, Koku makes a statement which is overboard. And let me say, by the way, that I was in a chat a couple of days ago with a friend, and we both agreed that the kind of flexing of executive authority that the government has shown in this Koku Anyidoho matter, we wish they showed just a modicum of that when they negotiated with the Americans on the 7th and the 8th of August 2017 on the Ghana-US military cooperation agreement. But we will discuss that later.
I mean, the police is synonymous with the government?
Exactly so. You know that they are all in the executive.
Okay.
And you do know that before the arrest, Mustafa Hamid, the Honorable Information Minister, had gone on air. And he was the first to actually inform all of us that the police and the CID will be picking Koku Anyidoho up. And he wondered why.
I thought the interview was after the arrest.
No, it was before.
It was in the heat of the arrest.
No, it was before. It was before in the morning on City FM.
Okay.
It's available online.
I thought you were referring to his interview here on Joy.
I'm referring to the City FM interview where he said he's wondering why the CID had not picked him up yet. You see, when politicians act in that manner, you make it very difficult for us not to believe that political hands are at work. It will have been better, cleaner, you know, finesse, if all politicians had backed off, stayed away, and allowed the police to carry out a very professional work so that the police picks him up and the police determines.
Didn't persons in the NDC and the NDC itself express similar wish and shock when Kenneth Japong had made the comments that, you know, were thought to be treasonable, and eventually he was arrested and charged for same?
You see something? I'm not,
did that mean it was the government that instigated his arrest?
When that happens, you cannot fault those who believe that unseen hands of officials of government are at work. I'm not saying that this is new. I'm saying that after 25 years, we've been celebrating 25 years of the Fourth Republic. Can we leave our state institutions to act professionally, independently? We should not go ahead of them and urge them to act. And then when, even in the course of the arrest, the police tell the lawyers of Koku Anyidoho that we will have left to us, we will have granted him bail. But we are waiting for orders from above. It doesn't help. It further muddies the waters and shows that it's
an allegation.
It's unseen hands.
That's an allegation.
Yes, but I heard that on your network.
Right.
His lawyers were speaking to Joy FM, and they said that that's what they had been told. I have not heard the police dispute that or rebut that assertion. So be that as it may, it's important that we encourage politicians to back off and stay off, allow state institutions to work. This business of machoism and wanting to show that, you know, they have the power and they are ahead and they will demand certain actions does not help the government at the end of the day. It must be said. Then Samson, I must also posit very strongly that the whole conduct, the Ghana Police Service could have done better. Can't you place a phone call to Koku Anyidoho? He is a Deputy General Secretary of the largest opposition party. He has nowhere to go. He can't run away. Can't you just place a call, invite him? There is a press conference that all the opposition parties have called to declare their support for the Ghana First demonstration the next day. Then you decide that that is where you will go and arrest Koku Anyidoho. I mean, clearly, the police set the stage for all the furore and all, you know, the drama, that accompanied this arrest.
Thank you. And good morning and welcome to Newsfile, Koku Anyidoho.
Good morning, something. Can you project the data? I can't really hear you.
Great. I can hear you clearly, and thank you very much. I suppose that you're doing well. You have informed the whole nation that you were treated very well, right?
Well, good morning, Samson. Good morning to your viewers for your listeners as well. Let's see how the conversation goes.
Okay. Now, right here, Sami Okujeto is suggesting that he believes that it will be in your nature that hindsight, you regret these comments. Do you regret them?
Pardon me?
Do you regret the comments?
That is still within the domain of the investigators. Whatever it is that I was supposed to have said, let the investigation continue, and my lawyers will speak to those issues.
So you don't regret them at all?
My lawyers will speak to those issues.
I see. Now, you're expected back at the police station, is it BNI, on Tuesday, is that correct?
Not BNI, not BNI.
At the police headquarters.
Let's take it step by step.
Okay.
Yes. And then we can have a conversation. The BNI was not investigating. There was a police CID that had a job to do. And so they undertook that job. I respect the laws of Ghana. I am a citizen of Ghana. Let the laws of the land work. And so as I speak, I respect what the CID did. The police service did what they had to do based on something that supposedly had happened. And so the laws of the land are working. Let us respect and build our state institutions. And as I speak, I can confess whatever experience it is that I went through, something, I have gotten a deeper understanding and a deeper learning of how the police operates. You can have all your perception indexes and put the police on top as a corrupt institution. But what I saw, what I observed, what I went through, we have a very professional police service. We have a professional BNI, that's the Bureau of National Investigation. And I am happy that as a politician, as a statesman, I went through it. Yes, the experiences may not be too interesting, but I have gone through it. I respect the police service much, much more, and I respect the BNI. I was not tortured. I was not manhandled. I was not handcuffed at any point in time. They had a job to do. They did their job. Kudos to them.
Okay. Your party distanced itself from your comments. How do you feel about that?
No. I mean, go and check. I think I had an interview with Star FM on Tuesday morning. I said categorically that the NDC has a way of issuing statements that are binding, and that before I am NDC, I am a Ghanaian. And so that statement or whatever it is that I was supposed to have said was a comment that I made in my personal capacity. And let me state for the records that the General Secretary did not distance himself from me. What he said was that Koku is allowed to have his comments. And it's true. The General Secretary is allowed to have his comments. Everybody is allowed to have their comments. I made a comment as a Ghanaian that the sovereignty of this nation.
But you belong to the group. You belong to the grouping NDC, and you are not just a member. You are an executive of the NDC. You are the deputy general secretary.
Yes.
And it is not for nothing. It is not for nothing that in your constitution you make provision for disciplining members, even when they go out to do things in their private capacity. So if you made those comments and they issued a statement that dissociated the party from you.
There was no statement issued. Something, you're a lawyer. Provide the evidence of a statement that was issued. Provide a statement that was issued by the party.
If the general secretary of the party...
The general secretary did not distance himself. All he said was that is Koku's comment. And I stand by it, that it was my comment.
Okay.
Yes, the general secretary, there's been no press release. For which reason I am greater a person in terms of the fact that the party gave me support. And as I speak, let me thank President.
Can you help us understand what provoked these comments?
Which comments?
The ones you made.
Something you are aware. I shall not speak to the legal issues. My lawyers are working.
Do I understand you are denying you made the comments that are attributed to you?
Something, jump this question and go elsewhere.
No, my suspicion is that the police, after arresting you, have now written to the radio stations asking them to produce the original copy. I'm informing you if you didn't know. So I suspect
you are not my lawyer.
I suspect that you are saying that for as long as the police is now applying for those comments, you will not, admit that they are yours. Is that what is happening?
I am saying that I am on police inquiry bill. I have not been charged. Let my lawyers speak to the legal issues. But I say that I stand for the sovereignty of Ghana. I respect state institutions and I applaud the state institutions for the work they have done. I will be the last person to go against the grain. Look, something, I have worked at the highest level.
Yes, you have. Right.
I will be the last person to disrespect the workings of state institutions. Let the state bodies work.
Do you have a feeling? Do you have a feeling that there is more to your arrest than your comments?
Pardon me?
Do you suspect there is more to your arrest than your comments?
Talk to my lawyers.
Lawyers are supposed to be, as they call them attorneys, that they take instructions from their clients and speak on their behalf. But we have you directly.
Am I stupid to speak against the grain of my legal counsels? Am I stupid? I've never been stupid and I'll never be stupid. I've never been reckless and I'll never be reckless. So don't put words in your own mouth, spew it into my vocal cavity and think that I'll respond to it. I say, speak to my lawyers on the legal issues. All I'm saying is that I respect the police, I respect the BNI, I respect state institutions. I am a politician. I will never disrespect any state institution. They have done a very fantastic job.
That you have said. That you have said, and you have emphasized time and again. You have been cautioned on treason felony and causing fear and alarm. Treason felony.
No.
Clearly puts you. Hold on.
Have you seen my caution statement? Have you seen it?
I believe the police, when they issue a statement and say that you have been cautioned on treason felony.
Have you seen it?
I have no reason to doubt the police. The police have issued a statement and they say they have cautioned you on treason felony and causing fear and alarm.
They took a caution statement. They have not cautioned me.
Yes, exactly what I mean. When you take a caution statement, the person has been cautioned. In fact, eventually, if they intend to proceed, that is what will be the charge.
Talk to Victor Kojoga Adaudu. Chris Akume, talk to Aladi Huduyaya, talk to Betty Modisu, talk to the array of lawyers that you, Samson, have access to. I will not comment on the legal matters. All I know is that because the law is working, I'm on bail, police inquiry bail, to represent myself.
Okay, I just wanted to ask this. Since you obviously do not want to comment on the matters, it does appear that the right person we should have been speaking to is any of your lawyers. Allow me to comment on this matter. Sorry.
If you were my lawyer, would you allow me to comment on this matter?
Oh, you're a politician. Anything is possible.
Stop. Let's stop the media.
I'm asking this. Can I ask this?
Let's stop the media.
Can I ask this?
And let's deal with the issues.
Can I ask this? Yes, I'm trying to deal with the issue, except that you prefer that we speak to your lawyers. If I could, because we.
You are a lawyer.
You agreed to speak to us. You agreed to us. I'm a senior counsel. I'm a senior counsel. I've gotten to that point. Don't worry about that. Listen, I'm saying that. Yes, there's a year that you get to senior status. I have.
Are you 10 years at the bar?
Hold on. Can we look at this? I'm asking the question.
No. Are you 10 years at the bar?
You use the word senior.
Can you hold yourself about a senior counsel?
You use the word senior, and I'm speaking to you on basis of law. But since you don't know the law, let's ignore that one. I'm saying that.
No, don't run away from it. Are you 10 years at the bar?
I'm not.
Thank you.
What does that change? What does that change? Okay.
So you are not a senior counsel. You are not.
Okay. By your knowledge, you have to be 10 years to be senior at the bar, right? Okay, since you don't know the law, let's not deal with that. But that's wrong. You don't know it. So, can I ask you this? Let's keep to this interview about you. I was only asking that if finally you can speak to me about this. Treason felony, it's a first degree. It's a first degree offense.
I don't know.
Are you scared? Are you scared that eventually you might go to jail for life?
I don't know. You can continue to speculate and do what you want to do. And that is the problem with the Ghanaian media.
Okay.
You know something?
Thank you very much. I think we can end it here. Thank you. Have a good day. Thank you. Have a good day. All right. So I think that his preference is for us to speak to his lawyers. Yeah. I have a problem why he agreed to speak to us in the first place. Yeah. So maybe if we do need to continue, get one of his lawyers and let's speak to them. But thank you, Koku, nonetheless. Okay, so... I'm
not done.
No, but you hold on briefly. Now, if you can look at the process of arrest, detention, and the charges as we know by now, this is what he's been cautioned on. What would be your analysis of the situation on the process of arrest, detention, and the caution?
Well, thank you, Samson, and thank you so very much. But first of all, let me take opportunity to wish His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo a belated happy birthday. He celebrated it on Thursday. On Thursday, Joy FM was running something on their platform,
right?
And they asked what we wanted to say to the president. Mm-hmm. I read it, and I sent my comment. I said that probably he could give us a birthday gift by releasing Koku Anyidoho to us. I don't know whether he read it, but that Thursday, Koku was released.
The president has not arrested Koku Anyidoho.
No. I said his birthday gift. Look, okay. The president that same day, the president issued a communique. Yeah. In exercise of Article 58. Mm-hmm. That's the executive authority. Mm-hmm. And I have said constantly, and I've always told you, read the Constitution, Article 58 and Article 296 together. You will come to the conclusion that the president is government, and government is the president.
That's clearly stated there.
That's clearly stated.
It doesn't need debate. That I'm saying that the president is not the police.
No, I made a plea to him, and I think that I should thank him. Wish him a birthday and thank him, whether he read it or not. Coincidentally, that very day, coincidentally, that day, Koku was released.
Okay.
And I had made a request. I have no evidence to show that he read it. But I have every evidence and belief that if he had seen it, he would have given us the birthday gift. And probably he saw it. So thank you, Mr. President.
So that what? The president would have called the police and intervened and say, okay,
because
you have to...
The president is a legal luminary. He has been fighting human rights cases since he came back from London, from France. In fact, he's done some of the landmark cases in this country on human rights. In fact, he's the one who fought and had the criminal libel law repealed and taken off the books of Ghana. He's coming back in another form in different countries. Fake news. Okay? That's bringing back the criminal libel law in other countries. So why? I mean, that's why I have every reason to believe that if the president read my message and got to the impression that probably something was fundamentally wrong, he would intervene. And then he's got the clemencies. Oh, he could, yes, he could exercise his clemency.
No, but he hadn't gotten to that point.
Well, he's got it too. So, but Koku's comment, back to Koku's comment. To be honest with you, I also have a view that Koku's comment was needless. It was unwarranted and very unnecessary. But that doesn't derogate from his right.
Needless, unwarranted, and necessary. You haven't said anything.
Why? He ought not to have said that, those comments.
The demand of your critics, as in the NDC, has been that you should be condemning him. Saying needless, saying unwarranted.
No, I don't condemn him. Let me come.
It's not condemnation.
No, I'm not condemning him. Because you see, we are in a democracy. 3 things are very important. Yesterday, I listened to the president when he was giving his speech. He added 4. Oh, the 4th one, democratic accountability. Freedom of speech is very, very important. It's a cardinal requirement of any thriving democracy. Koku exercises his right to speak his mind. 2, freedom from arbitrary arrest is a cardinal requirement of any democracy.
You say the freedom of speech has no limitations?
It has limitations.
Okay.
But those limitations must be founded by law. And you know that. I'll come to that.
Okay.
Whether mere path can be said to be treasonable or subversive. And you know that.
This is what it is?
This is what it is. Because you have to link, the path with activities, stated activities, and stated intentions. Whether it's general intention, whether it's a specific intention, or whether it's a constructive intention. They must link. You cannot, mere path doesn't mean anything. And I agree to Koku when I read him and he said that we should have treated it with contempt. Clearly, it's mere path. Because he has no capacity to do what they said he wanted to do.
How will you know he doesn't have capacity unless you have spoken to him?
There is no act to find a man's construction on his face. Shakespeare said it long ago.
Does it apply in Africa, really?
It applies everywhere. It applies everywhere.
There's an act to find the man's construction in the face.
It applies everywhere. But
anyway, you have the prophets, they will tell you it doesn't apply.
Yes, so my brother, I say it's unwarranted because, and the 4th thing, that government must be founded on the will of the people. And those government must be governed with their consent. Koku said something very, very fundamental. And if he doesn't even say, I'm sorry, I believe that he must be released to go home and sleep.
What is that?
He says he respects state institutions. What is treason? Treason is doing acts, either by yourself or in concert with others, to overthrow the Constitution.
We have moved from there. We are at treason felony.
Treason felony is doing acts in concert with others to disturb or damage the political system. That is Section 182. Read Section 182.
Yeah, I want to read it.
Yes, so read Section 182. That's why it's a treasonable felony. And which acts did he do?
Now,
read it to
now, Section 182 of the Criminal Offences Act says that a person commits a treason felony. A person commits a treason felony and is punishable as for first-degree felony, who A, prepares or endeavors to procure by unlawful means an alteration of the law or the policies of the government, or B, prepares or endeavors to carry out by unlawful means an enterprise which usurps the executive powers of the Republic in a matter of both a public and general nature.
Yeah. So prepares or endeavors. So that's why I say that, well, when Koku made the speech in exercise of his freedom of speech, the speech might be morally reprehensible. It might offend the sensibilities of some people. It might even evoke emotional considerations. In the case of the president, that was his father who was overthrown. But is it treasonable? If people are of the view, the state is of the view that it's potentially, not treasonable, potentially treasonable, what they need to do is not arrest Koku, is to activate our intelligence gathering system to see what activities would Koku be engaged in that is likely to subvert the constitution of this country. But not arresting. Arresting him is the exercise, the callous exercise of state authority.
Is arresting him and having access to his communication, as in through his phone and other means, and speaking to him, not a part of the process of investigating to confirm whether or not he is in the capacity to prepare or procure the stabilization of the republic as it is?
If the state will always embark on that trajectory, then we are all in danger. Samson, sitting here, I could just say a word, and the next day, I will be uncomfortable. I will be made uncomfortable by just saying those words.
Okay.
We are all in danger. We should not in any way encourage the state to take that path, because the state is a colossus. No one in his right thinking sense can underestimate the power of the state to get behind each and every one of us. And who says that the state is the most intrusive establishment that we have all over the world? There's something, me and you, we shouldn't delude ourselves into thinking that we walk around free making calls. That if the state chooses to hear our calls, it will hear our calls and monitor our calls.
Even in the absence of the spy bill?
Even in the absence of the spy bill. And so, we should not. And I'm saying that, that's why I'm saying that, for me, it was totally unnecessary. And I agree with, apart from the legal basis of my objection to the arrest and and the incarceration, albeit temporary, of Koku, that it was totally unnecessary. Yes, as the personal idiosyncrasies of Koku led him to making those comments. The question one will ask is, my brother here, doctor, he might not say that, and I've listened to him make many speeches in Parliament and outside Parliament. But if he strays, does it mean that my brother has capacity to do what he said he will do? Okay, probably we need to punish him, not because he has capacity, but because we condemn the statement. I think that is what was happening. Because we frown upon the making of those statements in a democratic country like ours, and that we will use state power in such a way as to send a signal to people not to make reckless, careless, unwarranted statements next time they have the opportunity. But obviously, I know that the president and the executive, I know the police did not believe that Koku had the capacity, either imagined or real, to overthrow this government. And he just demonstrated that he never intended that. He says he believes in state institutions. And so, yes.
You know, they don't believe that he's capable of what he said. Then why would they pursue him?
Well, I've just demonstrated to you that the enormous power of the state, if you want, call it the monopoly of the coercive use of force, is vested in the state. And the state can be arbitrary or capricious in the use of that power.
Okay, you have done the legal analysis on, you know, the aspect of treason felony. How about the other caution, which is on section 208, which says that a person who publishes or reproduces a statement, rumor, or report which is likely to cause fear and alarm to the public or to disturb the public peace, knowing or having reason to believe that the statement, rumor, or report is false, commits a misdemeanor.
He didn't publish any report.
It is not a defense to a charge under subsection 1, that the person charged did not know or did not have reason to believe that the statement, rumor, or report was false, unless it is proved that prior to the publication, that person took reasonable measures to verify the accuracy of the statement, rumor, or report.
Yeah. So what is a rumor? So what are the ingredients of this offense? There must be a rumor. Did Koku engage in any rumor? No. He didn't say that he has seen soldiers in tanks moving towards the Flagstaff House to overthrow the government. He didn't say that, did he? He didn't say that. He didn't publish such a thing. He didn't say that he's aware of a fact that soldiers are preparing to overthrow. He didn't say something like that. He didn't publish a rumor. He just published an opinion.
An opinion?
Yes.
Okay.
An opinion.
Which opinion you say is a puff?
It's a puff.
It's false.
It's false. It's puff.
Okay.
It's puff.
One of the ingredients in this law is false information.
But it's not an information. He didn't give an information. That's not an information.
Okay.
Okay? This is an opinion. Okay? And an opinion is not an information. It's not giving an information.
I see.
You understand? So you look at it in all dimensions. This can never be the subject matter of an investigation or a charge.
Not at all.
At all. It can only be calculated to limit the exercise of our freedom of speech. And that if the state is mandated to give vent to the exercise of the freedom of speech in a responsible manner, and if the state had apprehensions that probably what Koku is saying might have some elements of truth which ought to be investigated, I'm saying that is obviously, the way they went about it is obviously not the way to investigate a potentially treasonable or subversive statement. Okay,
if I may ask you a last question on this, and then I'll go around and perhaps come back to you again, if we are still on this subject. Since you're a lawyer and a senior lawyer, let me ask the question.
Well, I'm just like you. Just like you.
I'm just learning that you have to be 10 to be a senior.
No, we're all learning. We're learning. I'm a student of law and I'm a student of politics.
Right, right,
I'm learning.
Right. In the year when...
I admire your modesty.
In the year when I was celebrating my 8 years at the bar, I was very happy because it meant differently.
Yeah, that's
now, when you say he doesn't have the capacity to prepare, to procure the unlawful means to do what the charge claims, and that there must be an investigation to see that he was going to do that or not. I have suggested that what about what we mean by lawyers when we say inchoate offense? When we say an offense is not only offense criminally when it has been completed, but when it is incomplete, when you are attempting, when you are conspiring.
An inchoate offense is an offense that cannot stand on its own.
It's incomplete.
It's incomplete.
Yes, and yet it is punished.
So even if you look at 182B,
right,
it says abets, aids or abets. So that is an inchoate. So if somebody aids or abets by procuring, facilitating the procurement of those things that will enable a person to engage or endeavor to engage in acts that will subvert the political establishment, that fellow will not be charged for the substantive offense of engaging, but he will be charged with abetting the commission of that crime. Absolutely. And so that clearly is an inchoate offense. But you see, it doesn't stand on its own.
Right.
Okay, so if you were charging Koku with abetment, then you need to show that he contributed in a way, either through abetting, aiding, facilitating, assisting, attempting, all those things, all those inchoate offenses,
right,
to ensure that that thing is done. But we don't see it.
Okay.
Okay, so finally, the fact that we said that NDC issued a statement to say that it distances itself is very, very fundamental. People don't get it. NDC is committed to ensure, in fact, all of us here, and let me assure Nana Adodanka Akufo-Addo that anybody whether it's Koku or anybody who attempts to overthrow or disturb the political establishment, we will fight that person to the last of our breath. We are sitting here talking because we are in a democracy. Yeah. When we're in the military dictatorship, do you have media houses flourishing like they are flourishing today? Could we talk the way we are talking?
Of course not.
Yeah. So we must guide that freedom.
Fundamental.
It's fundamental. Two, we don't want to create an opportunity for any government. No military man should create an opportunity for any government to come back so many years after to tell us that if they had been given an opportunity to stay in office for their full tenure of office, they would have done more. Every democratic accountability means that at the end of every 4 years, we'll go and assess you if we meet our reasonable and legitimate expectations. And you're able to deliver on your promises, we will retain you. If not, we will change you. Because we are always looking for the whole government is established for the welfare of the people of this country.
Okay.
And so there is no point of
right. So this is unnecessary. It's unwarranted. It's a path, and ought not be pursued by law enforcement agencies. That's according to Inus of Saini. Of course, you've heard Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, who also says that these are only, statements that are made overboard in politicians in their usual, course of making statements and being inspired, as it were, either by some spirit, possessed somehow. Yes, me? What do you say?
Let me just...
There was a demand, first of all, from the NPP to the NDC to publicly condemn the statements.
Samson, I think just a few responses. I made some few notes when my brother spoke. About the Koku said the police and the BNI were very professional.
Yeah.
And
he's not saying this for the first time.
Yes.
Immediately he was released, he said it.
And it's not occurring out of a vacuum. It's because of the way they conducted themselves in this short period. And that is very, very important. And my senior here said he actually asked the president to give a birthday gift by getting him released. And you asked a question, which was to remind him that the president does not micromanage the police. And that is something which should be made clear, that even if it did happen that he was released, it should be sort of a coincidence. It's important to put it out there. And I also wrote here, all this while, anytime a politician, a public officer, or someone who is known, a prominent person, for any reason is called or arrested or invited, if you watch carefully at the comments, it's not about the invitation or the procedure. It's about the abuses that show up of the person's human rights by the police. Now, the greater the number of abuses in terms of not allowing lawyers to have access, not knowing the whereabouts of the person, defying the 48 hours, the greater you give meaning or to the suspicion that there is a hand involved. And those are things we all want to apply our energy to fight and condemn. But unfortunately, in this case, I've gotten the impression from some of my brothers that even the invitation or attempt to get him to answer things to the police is arbitrary or unnecessary.
It was not an invitation, it was an arrest.
Good, the arrest was unnecessary. But you see, in one breath, you say the statement was reckless. In another breath, you say...
Okay, no one here has said the statement was reckless. Unnecessary, unwarranted, not the same as reckless.
You didn't use reckless, right?
No, he didn't use reckless.
Unnecessary, all right. Now,
Sami says it was overboard.
Overboard, good.
And one of those situations when you politicians, you get into.
Exactly. Yeah. So immediately he used the word overboard. It means it's gone beyond what ideally or normally you find politicians saying or I expected to say. So are you surprised? It is something which is unusual, which would attract such... How many of the NDC, our brothers, have been invited or sent to the BNI? It would take such a behavior. And you know what? Every profession has some code of conduct or some general rules that guide behavior. In medicine, they say it's a noble profession. Law, learned profession. teaching most noble profession. When you say you're a politician, how do people look at you? It is the individual conduct and the way we handle ourselves that will form the opinion on how people perceive us. And with my small experience, when you say you're a politician, people look at you some way. And whether I like it or not, it is an aggregation of such behaviors that makes all of us suffer. And it always reminds me of Luther King's statement that, but I'll change it to suit mine. Any irresponsible behavior by a politician anywhere is a threat to responsible politicians everywhere in the country, because we are all caught up in the network. Now, I hear
there are those who seem to want to remind you of a bit of history.
Yeah.
And you say, and I was seeking to from them what they meant by associating, as it were, the government, so to speak, to what specific agencies of state were doing. In the NPP era, we know how Chachi was picked up. We know how E.T. Mensah was picked up, and all of the unnecessary drama that followed. I mean, almost a similar event. So people are asking, is the NPP not learning?
We need to, how do we call it? We need to separate the issue so that everything is fine. The first one is that when every politician, every government official is supposed to be accountable. I'm in politics. If I'm called by the police, I'll not call my parents or call relatives or friends and tell them I'm being hunted. Once I'm in this, I have rights, privileges, and I have duties. When I'm called by the police to explain anything, I must go there. I only need to act within the law. I'll not start yelling at them. So we need to separate that one, that to be invited or an arrest based on what you've done is not unusual. Then we go to the second leg, how it was done. Just like in every profession or in every practice, you can always act better or perfect your act. So when people talk about the modus, I agree. We should suggest ways of making sure they behave in a finer way. That's not to suggest that this was crude, but I will not fight anyone who says that, in my judgment, this could have been done better. Why? Any particular activity can be perfected. When Ken Japan then was arrested, things like not trying to give access to where he was, about his movements, and attempt to go beyond 40, these were the ingredients being fought. Not that he was above the law. In fact, I wrote that even President Kufuor was sitting. People took him to Shraj. He was a subject of investigation. So we should get it clear.
The new politicians are interesting. We same group of persons from the NDC and even all of us sat here and condemned Kennedy Japan for making those statements about tribes, taking on the other. And today they have a difficulty condemning same.
I am very, but before I go there, you see, I wrote here about freedom of speech. The ingredients that the court must satisfy, or an attorney, the Attorney General must satisfy before somebody is charged for causing fear and panic, assuming they are able to satisfy all. It's a criminal offense, that not so?
Yes, it's a misdemeanor.
The one who would have engaged in such a thing wouldn't have used a cutlass on anybody. He would have used words, is that not so?
That's so.
Now, if in the wisdom of the framers, there is a particular section which is called, fear and panic, and you can get caught and they can establish and get you punished just for using words, it tells you that freedom of speech is not that absolute, or the use of it can result in committing an offense, is that not so? That alone then should let those who use freedom of speech know that the abuse of speech also have been captured clearly in on the papers. And my initial reaction when in fact I was at Ministry of Roads and Highways on Tuesday when I watched the breaking news on TV. Why was I there? I was there to talk to the minister on some road challenges I have. And I told the secretary the straight away, look, this gentleman has not succeeded to cut the attention of Ghanaians with some fine proposals on how to transform this country or how to make the NDC more credible. He's gone in an idiosyncratic behavior, acting very unusual, so that all of us will stop doing whatever we are doing and focus on him for at least 12 hours. And I was so upset. You see, I was so upset. My initial reaction is that let him go. On the surface, this guy has got no capacity. But my restraint was that the police might know something I don't know. So the MPP, government, is not excited by seeing Koku go work at BNI and CID and all that. But what is also very important is that those who engage in deliberate acts to raise the political atmosphere, they do it at the peril of all of us. You don't need the nation going through turmoil or a violent coup or anything to suffer the consequences. Just, I got a message from a friend in Amsterdam. He sent me a page on BBC he was following, and it was that there was activity at CID. A demonstration was about to be organized. And her worry was that what is happening in your country? Now, so an investor can take a break to assess a country's whether to step in the country.
Tell me, had you heard the statement that we're talking about now before the arrest?
No,
Did you hear about it before the arrest?
No, it was after the arrest.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, even after the arrest, would you say sincerely that that statement caused fear and alarm in you? Even though the law says it's not only that it caused, likely to cause. Would you say it caused fear and alarm in you?
Thank you very much.
Or it has a likelihood of causing fear and alarm in you that Koku Anyidoho, together with the whatever group he says we're going to start the mass things that to get the president abandon the presidency. Did you think that? Did you feel that it could happen?
There's one thing I was absolutely sure about, that his statement could lead to a rise in the political temperature. That, like in terms of comments on radio and people's behavior and all that. That I was absolutely about. But about being jittery, that we were going to experience a coup d'etat, it was, I don't want to use a strong word, but I knew he was blowing hot air. But you know what? It is better to be absolute in your presumption that an individual has not got the capacity or operational might to carry out a coup d'etat than to rubbish it on the surface based on his profile. You know, because for me, I'm not a security person. My rubbishing of him on the surface is looking at his pedigree and his capacity. But how do you become so sure? And when I say absolute, 100% sure that the individual really has not got the capacity. They went to court to get the search warrant to go in and all that. All that process, if after all that they come and tell me that we have gone through everything and are sure in court, assuming they don't follow treasonable charges, that maybe misdemeanor or something, and they tell us for treason we are sure, I'll be safer with such a conduct where the police have gone through processes to ensure that absolutely Koku has not got the capacity. And something, if someone wants a military coup d'etat to occur, we must be careful. He must not necessarily be the chief actor in terms of the operation or be the chief sponsor. His statements could only be a small revelation of something that is going on in terms of planning. I'm not saying that's the case. Just to buttress the point that you can have people who sponsor an event. The one who says it only might have engaged in loose talk to give you a hint. But all these are in the realm of what? Speculation. But the police engaged in an act, that's my understanding, which was to be absolute, that he really did not have the might and operational detail to carry such an act.
Okay.
And with the NDC, when Asedun Keita came out to distance themselves, why would you go to the extent of distancing yourself from a statement, which is normal and without harm? The mere just going that extent means that it is unsavory. Is that not so? Now, when you see Koku coming here to tell you that Asedun Keita did not distance himself, he started by saying he's an individual. It tells you clearly, even you yourself, you had issues with the 7 years. It tells you this is an individual, that is his nature or brand. And I will not sit here and say that it is a preserve of only the NDC to have such people in their fold. Across political parties, there are people who are hawkish. And even you can be hawkish with moderation. Theirs is only to cut attention. They are hawkish, they only create noise and tension. We must show maturity by condemning such people. If we don't have the guts to condemn publicly, this is how we can be helped.
You say the police should continue with this?
No.
Should they continue with what they are doing as far as Koku is concerned, or they should abandon it?
As for the charges they will come up with, the ones they will pursue, I mean, I don't know. But my interest is not there. The mere fact that two things have happened, and I wrote in lessons, which are very good for all of us.
I want you to conclude, so
I'm concluding. The two things which happened, which are very good for all of us, that Koku being called sends a signal not only to him, but to all of us, that as public officers, we can be called to account and explain our conduct anytime. And the police going to the length of going before a judge to seek permission to go and search him, as well as operating within the 48 hours allowed by law, is a recognition that they are also not above the law. With such behavior, I think we can preserve our democracy for long.
Thank you. People are asking really, what do we do with our politicians? Recall fear and alarm or panic about President Mills or whoever, and somebody was arrested, an MPP member, in a radio station with Kofi Adams as allegedly leading the arrest of that person. Fear and alarm, these matters have come up over and again. The same NPP at the period who said these were unimportant stuff and that the people were being harassed are the ones who are now defending what, you know, others say are mere puff and should not be pursued.
Yeah. To a large extent, your observation is factual and accurate. We've been recycling this kind of conduct over the years, almost very unprincipled and inconsistent conduct on the part of our politicians across the divide. But there are still people who have been consistent when these issues came up or when they do come up. If you permit me, I want to proceed step by step.
Go ahead.
I listened to the tape, Mr. Anyidoho's tape. See, I have a policy. When Mr. Anyidoho makes statements, and those statements reflect on me, my personality and my integrity, I ignore them. It's a standing order I imposed on myself. But when those statements have implications beyond me, for the nation, for the state, then as a citizen, I think I'm entitled to make a submission or some commentary. And that's exactly what I'm going to do today. I've listened to his tape, the Happy FM interview, and I'll be honest with you, from an analytical point of view, what is said, put together, is internally incoherent. It's logically deficient, intellectually bankrupt. Yeah. I listened to it, and I said, my goodness, this is a reflection of where we've raised as politicians and political culture. Hodgepodge. There was no sense in it. I'm telling you honestly. What was he talking about? 1979, 72, January 13th, coup d'etat. That was a military intervention that torpedoed a constitutional order. And then when under pressure and all that, he wriggles around and says civilian coup d'etat. What animal is that? See, this is a constitution. We have put in place the framework for effecting changes of government administrations. So take out the 72 thing, which amounts to treason, which he threw out, thinking he could get away with it. Under pressure, he says, no, I'm talking of civilian coup d'etat. What is that? Elections? Elections come periodically. We go, we change a government or retain it. When the president misbehaves or does things that are impeachable, we have put in place procedures for how he should be dealt with. If Parliament passes a law and you think it's unconstitutional, there is a procedure for it. So how do you even bring in the word civilian coup d'etat? What is that? What animal is that? Intellectually, it's unsustainable, it's bankrupt. So really, what he said, it's something that I said, my goodness, what kind of level is this? What goes into that level of thinking? Of somebody who is a deputy general secretary of a party that has ruled this country before and for a long time, at least relative to the Fourth Republic. You must have a certain level, you must have a certain quality. But that was missing, in my candid opinion. In order not to waste too much time on the personality, proceed to deal with the substantive things. See, instinctively, sentimentally, based on my own experience, I've become so liberal. I thought it should have been ignored. Absolutely. This is a political judgment, not a legal judgment, not a legal opinion. I am making a political judgment. And I thought he should have been ignored the same way I advocated relative to Kennedy Japan. Of course, I've been counter-argued. There are people who say, okay, Koku, we hear you. But what if, apart from him, others keep making such statements? There's an aggregation, there's a critical mass. Is it your political judgment that should inform how we cure that mischief? Or there are laws in the country which should be applied? It's a dilemma that I personally confront. But we go step by step. So you look at the police, their reaction. Was it rooted in law? The police conduct, has it done anything that violates the law? If yes, we deal with it. Left me alone. I wouldn't have taken, and I wasn't there. It's newspaper reports, media reports, that the police went armed to the press center and took him, that's arrested him. I wouldn't go for that approach. It lacks finesse. You are capable. The police has the capacity and the capability to actually ask him to come over, ensure that he comes over without that dramatization.
Once again, you don't know what the police know.
It doesn't matter. That's why I say I'm not challenging the legal.
And in the investigative processes, the element of surprise is very critical to security officials.
You know what? Security men could still have gone to that place. Police could still have gone to that place without armed to the teeth to take him out from the place. He still would have been accosted. But I say, my argument, let me be honest. I'm telling you that I am making a political judgment that is contestable. It is not the law I'm talking immediately, but I'm going for the specifics now. The mode of arrest, I would have preferred a different mode for good reasons. You see, we are looking also at the larger population, all intrusions of all forces and factors, and how people will seek to capitalize on perceived omissions and slippages. And it is when we come to the crowd area that I will explain myself better. But I'm saying that they could have avoided the mode of arrest, the one that they applied. Not that legally they were wrong. After all, they didn't torture him. They didn't physically manhandle him at the place. They went, but I would have avoided the dramatization. That for me. You see, the gentleman himself, and in this case I mean Mr. Anyidoho, now says that the police conducted themselves very professionally. That is in terms of his being in custody at that time. I've heard Madame Betty Moon talking about unprofessional, unethical. I don't know if she's talking about the mode of arrest. I would want to hope that that's what she was talking about. Beyond the mode of arrest, which really doesn't violate Koku's human rights as such in terms of substance. Koku is saying that his period with the BNI and the police was professional. So I think it helps a little bit.
Okay, I'll beg you to hold on there. And we take a break here. We'll return for Koku to continue. And of course, he has issues with the mode of arrest and all. So there, it will mean that he agrees with President John Mahama when he also criticized same. But I've heard Koku say the president doesn't seem to have a moral right to give that criticism of the arrest and handling. We'll be right back.